Not rarely did Jesus make himself heard in my interior when I received Holy Communion. Sometimes I would remain several hours on my knees, almost motionless, after communion, and I would hear the interior voice speaking, and sometimes reproaching me if I had not been good and attentive. And if sometimes during the course of the day I had been a little distracted, oh, how it would reprimand me, and would end by saying, "Yet you say you love me, and where is this love of yours?" I would feel myself dying in hearing this, and would promise to be more attentive. And Jesus would add, I will see if it is true. Words are not enough for me. I want acts. Communion became my predominant passion. In it, I centralized all my affections. I was certain to hear our Lord speaking and how much it cost me to be without it, because I was forced by my family to go with them to the farmhouse, and I had to be many months without Mass and without communion. How many times I burst into tears in seeing trees, flowers, the whole of creation. Say to myself, the works of Jesus are around me. Only Jesus is not with me. Oh, please speak to me, you flower, you sun, you heavens, you crystal clear waters flowing in our little pond. Speak to me about Jesus. You are the works of his hands. Give me news of him. And it seemed that all things spoke to me about him. Each created thing spoke to me about each quality of Jesus. And I crying because I could not receive the one whom all things love. And they could not narrate so well the beauty, the love, the goodness of Jesus. I wept and reached the point of falling ill. Also, during the meditation, I would hear the voice of Jesus, but sometimes it was missing. But at communion, never. And how many times while meditating, I would remain 2 or 3 hours without being able to detach myself. As I would read the point and would pause, I would hear the voice of Jesus in my interior, who, acting as teacher, explained the meditation to me. Even from that time in my interior, lovable Jesus gave me lessons on the cross, on meekness, on obedience, on his hidden life. Talking about his hidden life, I remembered that he said to me, "My daughter, your life must be in our midst in the house of Nazareth. If you work, if you pray, if you take food, if you walk, you must give one hand to me, the other to our mother, and your gaze to St. Joseph, to see whether your acts correspond to ours, so as to be able to say, first I make my model based on what Jesus, the Celestial Mother, and St. Joseph do, and then I follow it. According to the model you have made, I want to be repeated by you in my hidden life. I want to find in you the works of my mother, those of my dear St. Joseph, and my own works." I remained confused and said to him, "My beloved Jesus, I don't know how to do it." And he would say, "My daughter, courage, do not lose heart. If you do not know how to do it, ask me to teach you, and immediately I will teach you. I will tell you the way we did it, my intentions, the continuous love among the three of us, how I as sea and they as little rivers were always swollen, in such a way that one overflowed into the other, so much so that we had little time to talk to one another. So much were we absorbed in love. Do you see how behind you are? Much do you have to do in order to reach us. You need much silence and attention. For I do not want you behind, but in our midst. So when I didn't know what to do, I asked Jesus, and he taught me in my interior. I tried almost always as much as I could to withdraw from my family, in order to be alone, to maintain silence. I would take my work and would ask my mom for permission to go upstairs, and she would grant it to me. So my mind was in the house of Nazareth, and I would look now at one, now at the other. And I felt confounded in seeing them so attentive in their humble works, so absorbed in the flames of love, which rose so high that their works remained inflamed and transformed into love. And I, amazed, thought to myself, they love so much, and what is my love? Can I say that my works, my prayers, the food I take, the steps I take, are flames that rise to the throne of God and form a river that overflows into the sea of Jesus? In seeing that it was not so, I would remain afflicted, and Jesus in my interior would say to me, "What's wrong? Do not afflict yourself. Little by little you will make it. I will be watching over you, and you follow me and do not fear." If I wanted to say everything that passed in my interior during my childhood, I would be too long. Moreover, since in the first volume written by me, without specifying the period, whether before or after, whether I was younger or I was older, there is a mention of the crafting of grace in the depth of my soul. Because so I was told, that it did not matter if I didn't put the order of age, what had happened before or what happened later, as long as I would say what had passed in me. Moreover, since after many years, it was difficult for me to maintain the order of what had passed in my interior. So now, in order not to make a repetition, I moved forward. I remember that as a girl, I had almost a yearning for becoming a nun. And since I went to school with nuns, I felt an affection, a little pronounced for them. But I loved them because I wanted to be like one of them. However, in my interior, I felt reproached because of this affection. And while I would promise to love no one else but Jesus, I would fall again, and Jesus would return to give me bitter reproaches. This was the only affection I remembered, which I felt in my life in a special way. Since after that, I no longer felt in love with anyone. What tyranny a natural affection is, be it even an innocent one, for the poor human heart. I remember it with terror. The internal reproaches crucified me. It seemed to me that my affection kept Jesus crucified, and that Jesus in return crucified me. And therefore I did not enjoy true peace, because the nature of human love is to wage war against a poor heart. To have peace and to love people in a special way does not exist in the world. And if it does, it means having no conscience. be it even with a holy or indifferent intention. But blessed Jesus put a stop to it soon. And here is how. One morning I asked Mom to let me go to visit Mother Superior, and I obtained this with hardship and sacrifice. As I went there, I asked for Mother Superior, and after a while I got the answer that she was busy and could not come. I was wounded on hearing this. I went to church and poured out my pain with Jesus. And from this he took the occasion to make me stop. He spoke to me of his love, of the inconstancy of the love of creatures, and of how he absolutely wanted me to stop it, telling me, when a heart is not empty, I refuse it, nor can I begin the crafting, which I have planned to do in the depth of the soul. But who can say everything that he told me in my interior? I remembered that it ended there, and my heart remained intrepid, no longer able to love anyone. So I always prayed Jesus to let me become a nun. And I often asked him, when I felt him in my interior, whether my religious vocation was going to be fulfilled. And Jesus would assure me, telling me, yes, I will make you content. You will see that you will be a nun. I remained all content in being assured by Jesus, and I tried to dispose my family in order to obtain their consent. But they were opposed, especially my mom. She reached the point of crying, and she told me that she would not make me content if I wanted to become a cloistered nun. But to be an active nun, she would have never let me win. However, to tell the truth, I wanted to become an active nun, because those I knew had been my teachers. But my long illness came and put an end to my vocation. Many times I lamented with Jesus and said to him, "Yet you told me a lie. You made fun of me, promising that I was going to become a nun." And many times Jesus assured me that he was telling me the truth, saying to me, "I can neither deceive nor make fun of anyone. The call which I made upon you was more special. Who, in becoming a nun, even in the most strict religious life, cannot walk, cannot take air, cannot enjoy anything? And how many times in religious orders do they let the little world in, and they amuse themselves magnificently? And I remained as though aside. Ah, my daughter, when I call to a state, I know how to fulfill my call. The place is indifferent to me. The religious habit tells me nothing. When in substance the soul is what she should be if she had entered religious life. And this is why I tell you that you are and will be the true little nun of my heart. To learn more about the divine will, go to my website at divinewill.cc or phone 305-864-1683. That number again, 305-864-1683.